This is the Heavyist podcast. Let's go!
Hello. Welcome to the Heavyist podcast. Weekly worship at the altar of radness. We're back again. There's riffs. There's some holy, holy riffs that we must worship today, Gary.
It's a big day in the Heavyist calendar.
It's a big old day.
I like the sort of sexy intro from you as well. Hello. It's quite sultry. I enjoyed it.
It may or may not be to entirely change my persona to appease the YouTube algorithm. Apparently,
possibly not.
Apparently, me using the F word abundantly at the beginning of every video is not a good idea for the algorithm. So it's just things that we're going to have to, we're going to have to really learn this behavior, Gary.
Yes.
Just don't go calling things C's for no reason like you do, Gary.
C's.
You're always calling something a C.
Oh God, I'm always calling you a mother flipper and all of that. I need to stop it.
You're going to have to employ words like heck, flip,
sugar,
perhaps fiddlesticks here or there.
Fiddlesticks. Amazing.
We've got to learn, Gary. If we're going to grow, if we're going to get a nice little audience, they're beating us over the head, the old algorithm, with me just saying the F right up top. So we're just going to, we're just going to have to do some learning, really, really think about it, Gary.
The content's going to get more PG-13.
Oh God, that was very close, Gary. That was incredibly close. Don't even say content? Words that nearly sound like it.
I could definitely say content. That's fine.
Yeah, true.
That's
it's
like
very
the one
close
word
to
you're mainly allowed to say. I mean, if you say the word more, you might improve your performance in the algorithm.
Contentula content. Contently, contentfully. Yeah.
I'm content this week. Oh boy.
I'm rather content. I'm also rather red, I think. I think I've caught the sun in a quite major manner. I sat outside and I have been blazed by Ra. It's Ra, isn't it? Is that there?
Ra. Yeah, I think so.
It is Ra.
I think so.
I'd like to pretend that I know that mostly from Niall, but really it's because of Yu-Gi-Oh. I wish that my sort of knowledge of the Egyptian deities was much cooler and learned a lot later than it was.
Very learned. That's what I was assuming.
Yes.
You were a learned gent.
Oh, mate. We've got a lovely little podcast this week. Obviously, one of the coolest and most hyped.
Regarded.
An album regarded, something that's brilliant, something that's a major occurrence in the Heavyist calendar is happening. Thusly, we have to give it its due respect and purely dedicate an entire episode just to it. Just a nice little sort of mini-sode to just talking about this riffs. But before we do get on to talking about one of 2024's biggest releases in the heavy calendar, Gary, how's your existing? I suppose you've been doing a lot of breathing outwards, inwards, sometimes shut your eyes for 8 hours, that sort of stuff.
I try to remember to get those things in the right order. Usually it's more like 6.5 hours of eyes shutting for me. I'm not a big sleeper, but things are good. I wanted to ask you, just before we get into the meat of the subject today, have you listened to the new Bleeding Through song?
No. Only because of what we've been listening today. I simply can't listen to anything else. It doesn't feel right until we've podcasted.
I had to check it out, and the opening is amazing. It literally starts with the lyrics "fuck around and find out," and I just said the word, and now I'm gonna get in trouble. Shit!
I think 4 minutes in. God! Right, I think 4 minutes in. Right, as I just say,
I think we're good.
Cunt, bollocks, twat, bastard! Oh, I had to get it all out. I've been holding that in too long. I reckon 4 minutes is fine.
We just get back to normal now. But yeah,
Oh,
the
just
intro
pretend to be normal.
is amazing. The intro to the new Bleeding Through song is amazing. The song itself, it's all right. Obviously, it doesn't quite meet the hype of the golden era of that band, but it's nice to hear them doing new stuff. So yeah, that's quite interesting.
Hell yeah! No, I haven't. I fully intend to check it out. Love a bit of Bleeding Through, but actually, I tell a lie. I also listened to the Gatecreeper record today, Gary. So I did lie to you then, but I didn't mean to. And it's only because it's coming up next week. So this next week's podcast is going to be fantastic. This is a big. I haven't really thought about it until now. I just realised that it's like Knock Loose one week and then it's Gatecreeper the next week. That's like two of the biggest bands in the sort of the heavy universe. Two of the most sort of looked at, revered, very much sort of darlings of their genre, released one after another. And then Speed was last week, so kind of like, is Speed out actually? Am I just lying?
Speed doesn't come out till like June. Speed's not out for
fuck
ages.
Me. I just lied. I just lied.
But
completely lied.
You're absolutely right, though. Back to back, Knock Loose, followed by Gatecreeper, week on week is pretty awesome.
Pretty fantastic. Gary, on Monday, if you're a new listener, me and my good lady are ushering a sort of an offspring into the world. We're birthing one soon. Well, she is. I'll try my best, but I don't think I'll get too far. Right. So my mum, like a couple of weeks ago, she got like a voucher or a Groupon, like one of them things, and she was like, "If I pay for this scam, will you do it?" And it's like and we're like, "Yeah, sweet." It wasn't something we were going to seek on our own, but there's a thing called like a 4D scan these days,
and you get one of those crazy scan, like 3D scan things.
Yeah,
it's the fourth dimension.
Fucking, I don't know. I mean, for me, it looks like there's only 3, but maybe there's another dimension at play because I can't.
What's the fourth dimension's time in it? So does it like show you what your kid's going to look like when it's 35?
It's a Benjamin Button machine, yeah. We did it, and it was really, really surreal. It was so weird, like, because obviously up until now you've just seen these little sort of like squiggles and things, and you get those pictures when people have baby scans. They don't really sort of look like tangible. They sort of look like blotches of cum or something. A lot of the time it doesn't really look real.
Baby is Casper,
I know what I mean. And then we had it on Monday, and it was absolutely mental. But it really, I couldn't stop thinking it just looked like an ulcerate video. I just couldn't. Like, check this out. Look, just imagine ulcerate start playing.
Ulcerate slowly playing in the background. What am I checking out? Oh.
Oh fuck! Is that showing it?
Yeah,
it looks mental, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Doesn't that look mental?
That's your little bubba.
Like, you see the person, you see his face, but like there's all these different sort of. But I know you can see the face and everything, but quite often you can't really see that. It takes a while to get to that bit. So before that, you're sort of seeing all these blotches and things, and then it all sort of comes together. I just felt like, imagine now like an ulcerate video, like and then like watching that and it all sort of bubbling up. It's quite weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite weird. Oh mate, amazing.
I don't know how to get rid of this now. I shouldn't have done this.
Oh no.
Oh no, you just press a button. There we go. That's it. That's done. That's an unborn baby you just looked at. How good's that?
Kind of crazy, man. Kind of
you
freaky.
Could see that baby.
I like it.
Also, just because I'm showing you, and I'll just show you this other one because it's quite cool. Look at this one. See, a bit more like a tool video, that one, than an ulcerate video, but still very much a harrowing conception.
that is considerably more terrifying because it's kind of emerging from like something.
Joe said to me, I said, it's going to look like he's frozen in carbonite, and it absolutely does.
Yeah. Oh, congratulations! It's a Han Solo.
Congratulations, you've got a scoundrel.
Oh,
Yeah, how
mate.
funny is that? It properly just looks like some sort of intangible death metal nonsense, but it's also a baby. It's quite good.
But it's also your baby. Congrats. Should we talk about the birthing of some amazing riffs?
We should talk about some very, very, very large riffs. Let's go.
Good. I'm glad that we're past the opening where we got to not swear, because I can say "knock loose, motherfucker." They are 5-piece metallic metalcore hardcore band from Louisville, Kentucky. Not going to do the accent. The new album is called "You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To," and it is released on Friday the 10th of May through Pure Noise Records. We've alluded to it a bit already. This is one of the most ridiculously long anticipated records that it feels like has been in heavy music, to be honest. Like, Different Shade of Blue came out in 2019, which feels like 1,000 years ago at this point. Yeah, they did release the Tear in the Fabric of Life in between now and then, which for my money might be one of the best EPs ever made, and I stand by that. And I remember when it came out, we were all just completely like absolutely agog at it. Like,
You might say that we're flabbergasted, Gary.
We were flabbergasted, mate. Fiddlesticks. We were absolutely.
I think you might have said fiddlesticks once or twice to one of those breakdowns.
Potentially, I might have done. But, like, it was incredible. It had this amazing story. It had the incredible animated video that went with it. And we're all just like, oh, my God, Knock Loose are the sickest band in the world. And since then, I've basically been counting the days every day. When's there going to be a new Knock Loose album? And when they announced it, and there were videos of them playing Blind in Faith bouncing around online, I was just like, oh my God, yes. Yes, I was so happy. I was like elated at the idea that it's finally gonna bloody happen. And like, it feels like sometimes I get confused by Knock Loose, because they're so massive and they're also so ridiculously heavy, and they show no signs of getting any less heavy as they progress. I mean, obviously we're going to get well into that, but like, what is like? Why is Billie Eilish stood at side stage watching them play Coachella? Why are they playing Coachella in the first place? Like, there's such an anomaly of a band in the heavy scene, don't you think?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic that they are sort of propelled to such heights, but still maintain such integrity and such like.
Yeah,
all eyes are on them. All eyes are on them. I think we said it's about the EP, but it still continues to just blow us away. That like all eyes are on them. They are only getting bigger, but yet they just get heavier. They like find new ways to be like a phenomenally heavy force. Like this is not something that's sort of increased its level of accessibility by any means.
No,
they don't. They haven't.
No.
And I just love that so much. Like we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, I just love it. I'm absolutely flabbergasted.
Mate, like, I just really wanted to say thank God for Knock Loose. Like, I'm so glad that they haven't felt that it's to continue to grow their fan base and to get any like bigger, they're going to need to start watering down what they're doing. Like, I'm so glad that they are sticking to what makes them special, makes them like the incredible band that we all love. Like, and there's not a lot of, like, you look at Turnstile as an example, another band who are like cracking the mainstream, but it kind of makes a lot more sense just because they've got a much more accessible sound, and they're still sticking to hardcore at its core, but there's so much more like mainstream vibes that they throw in. But Knock Loose have probably gotten heavier actually on this new record. They've probably gotten heavier than they were on the last one, like, which most people probably thought was impossible. I was probably one of the people in the camp that was like, how could they possibly get any heavier than they already are? But they've managed it.
Impossible. Yeah. Like bands that we like that get big, like they usually start making music for people that don't like heavy music anymore. or they'll start making music that sounds like it's made for wrestling, or it's made for pirates, or it's made for people that don't even like riffs anymore, or they try and kill their wife and that disappears. Like that's what usually happens to the bands that we've enjoyed and have sort of like graduated outside of their niche and are much more like part of like the zeitgeist. And I'm just incredibly like we should be incredibly grateful that we just got a straight up ass whooping from Knock Loose, and we didn't get like it's fantastic, mate. I'm absolutely in love with it. I think when you start listening to the record, I think the first sort of uptake in the heaviness from this record from the old record to this one is the production, mate. The production. Doesn't it sound like they listened to LLNN? Like it literally sounds like that sometimes, and it's brilliant. It sounds like a falling star in some moments. Like it doesn't. It's unreal. The upturn is so. I'm so thankful for it. Like I'm so thankful that they made a record that's heavier. Like
Something that's weird because I wanted to get into that because I think this is the first time that they've recorded. They've not gone to Will Putney to record. So they've gone to this guy, Drew Falk, who I'd never heard of before. So I had a little look at his like Discogs page to see what his credits were. And there was stuff on there like We Came as Romans, Wage War, Fit for a King, stuff that we do not fuck with. The stuff that
purely
we do not dig,
middle of the road metalcore stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is like, I think historically you go to Will Putney because Will Putney knows heavy and he is the guy. He records heavy and he knows what they're doing. But I think at this point, Knock Loose don't necessarily need help with that. They've got that covered on their own. And I think the difference here, this Drew Falk guy knows how to make music that has more of a radio for something that's sort of going to be on that Sirius XM, for example. Like he knows and I think what Knock Loose were looking for and what they found is someone to help them craft a song to be a bit hookier, a bit catchier, a bit more direct, a bit more like succinct even. Like, and I think the partnership of this Drew Falk guy that I've never heard of, but apparently he's a very big, well-respected, very famous music producer. So I should probably stop calling him this Drew Falk guy and just call him Drew Falk. But anyway, he's obviously guided them in the path of like how to actually put the songs and put their album together. Like I read in the press notes that they wrote 40 songs in the prep to make this album. They wrote 40 songs and then they kind of knocked it down to this final 10. It's 10 or 11. It's 10, isn't it? And they finally knocked it down to this final 10 over the course of like 4 years. And as a result, what they end up with is just white hot fucking genius. Like this album is so incredible. Like I'll always have a real soft spot for laugh tracks just because it was that first thing and we were just like, oh my god, everyone was just slack-jawed like this band or something else. But like if you're kind of trying to be objective about it, this is the best Knock Loose album, right?
Oh, 100%, dude. Like I'm obsessed with Don't Reach For Me. I think Don't Reach For Me like might be the best song they've ever written. Like it's so brilliant in its hooks. Like it's so fantastic how it's just so massive. It's got everything that you want from Knock Loose and more. It's got that like little fucking like that little beat, the little like sambery whatever it is moment is just, it makes you like the first time you heard it when you're just absolutely grinning ear to ear in complete awe. Like
there's just like it's the breakdown in that song just when it's like that really hard fast chuggy
like the gallops coming, don't they?
That riff, like there's always like that almost like it's like the Knock Loose ballad in inverted commas, like it ain't a ballad for shit, but they always do it like it was what's it called Something at the Moon, Staring at the Moon. Oh bollocks, I fucking should have remembered what that song was called. Following the Moon. Oh my god, Gary, what are you?
I don't know, it doesn't matter.
You know the song.
Anyway,
I mean.
Yeah,
Guided by the Moon. There we go. But the Guided by the Moon was the song on like a different shade of blue where it got a bit doomier. And on Don't Reach For Me, they've perfected that. And like, something else, mate. Something else.
Yeah. they must have had such a good time like figuring out these vocal hooks and like really like matching them up with the correct riffs. Like there's so many moments in the album where he like rides the riff in his like chorus, and they've got a way of basically having like a verse chorus verse track, but it doesn't sound wet or contrived or like stupid. It just sounds like an absolute banger. Like it's just made just to be absolutely blared over the tops of like 1,000 screaming homies on a massive huge stage. Like they're writing just huge massive hooks. Like Slaughterhouse, that track, dude. That track.
I was really surprised by that track.
I was over the moon.
You were like, I was like, what is going on? Why have we got Chris from Motionless in White on this song? Like that guy hasn't done anything cool in years. And also it's like a sequel to a song that Brian did on the Motionless in White album, which I don't think I've ever listened to. But I was a bit like, okay, this is going to be interesting. Actually, it's fucking absolute epic level banger. Like that song is awesome.
It's fantastic the way he goes for it on that track, like the chorus, the sort of the hook that he does, the way he's sort of like pushing his vocals in that melodic sense that he hasn't really done to that extent before. Like that, it's such a successful little moment that it builds in that track, and it's fantastic. And as well, what I love about that track is on the way out, you get that there's that big moment like where there's a breakdown and it comes back and it goes that you won't survive the slaughterhouse, and there's a big blah, and then the track just ends, but it's got all this momentum, it's chugging along, and they go, hang on, we're realizing we're making an album with literally no fat right here. Like we've already chucked away like 31 songs or whatever it is. Like this is so well edited. Like it's a really concise, cohesive, brilliant record that comes and goes in like half hour, right?
It's absolutely fucking spot on. But they still managed to sort of experiment within that as well, which feels like a contradiction in terms. But you kind of get like Moss covers all in to Take Me Home as well, where there's that like the kind of weird bit where they sort of start playing around, you know. They do all these, like they have that relentless 45-second track that just goes really hard, and then they take the way it ends, and then they use that to like bring into the start of the next song, and they just kind of do something a bit weird, and there's this like additional percussion that makes it almost sound like it could be a bloody Sepultura song or something, and it's all these extra like dynamics and like layers that they throw into that whilst still keeping it like properly 0% body fat. And like I've got so much respect for how they managed to make that work. Like that should not work. Like bands shouldn't be able to do that. It shouldn't be fucking possible, but they do. They managed to make it work, and it's absolutely insane. And like I think one of the things where you're looking at like analyzing hooks and you're analyzing the way that like this record really just hits a spot over and over again, it's like that vocal dynamic, which has always been something really exciting about Knocked Loose, but every record they seem to get more like with it, like you're saying, with Brian finding ways to make his like really harsh register scream that will really upset a lot of people, and turning it into something almost melodic. And then you've got Isaac coming in the bottom with the big fat, like the really like big, gruff, grunty stuff that he does. Like the way that they make that balance is just is incredible.
One of my favourite bits on the record is just the tiny little guttural from Isaac in Blinding Faith, where it's literally just a little bit of going.
No, that's Brian, mate. Have you ever seen the music video? That's Brian does that guttural. Is that
no?
Yeah, that's Brian does that guttural, mate. I know. Can you fucking believe it? It's absolutely sick as, man. It's so bloody good. And then also you've got like a couple of little moments where you kind of hear Nico poking through. He's the guitarist. He's kind of the newest member of the band, although he's been there for a while. And I reckon if they keep that going, they could basically become like Deathcore Alexis on Fire. And like, imagine how cool that would be to have like really shrill, like harsh Brian in the middle. You've got Isaac with the really sick, like bottom end, and then you've got Nico with a kind of more traditional hardcore sound. And you could make that could just become something like you've never fucking heard before. And and they're in that direction. It just kind of makes you think like this album's amazing, but this band have still got room to keep growing and keep developing and keep becoming more and more exciting and special, and ending up potentially being like download headliners at some point or something like that. And it's really exciting to have been able to be like in on the ground level with it properly.
Yeah, man. I love so many things about this record, and one of my favorite things is just the way it sort of presents itself as a record improper, like as I like them. I like a nice, sick intro track. Intro track is fucking fantastic. It's cool little build up, and then it just absolutely sounds like the apocalypse. It's brilliant little just explosion. And then the final track is a really cool final track. It's quite expansive for them, but it totally fits the album. It's really well sort of like succinct. It's only under 5 minutes. It's got a lot of heart and soul, but it still hits like a fucking truck. Even from that opening beat, you're sort of
in it as well.
Well, that's what I was about to say, right? Your guard is sort of down, right? Your guard is totally down from the opening of that track, and then you ankles completely snap. There's a big, massive, dirty groove, and then they broke the glass, mate. They finally broke the glass on some black metal. They were like, right, how do we make something feel truly epic? What do we do? And they got a little tiny hammer out. They broke the glass and injected some black metal, and it paid off so well. They popped the corpse paint on just for a little bit, and it was a brilliant sprinkling in there. And I love it. It feels great. It doesn't feel formulaic. It doesn't feel like something they thought they needed to be. There's a lot of albums that come out that sort of are of this ilk, and there's probably like 2 or 3 tracks on the album that sound like them being a different band for a bit. They'll be like, this isn't really very tropey. Like there isn't like, they don't like turn nu metal for 3 minutes, or turn industrial for a whole track, or turn acoustic for a track. Like, they're very much themselves the whole time. It's just a load of very, very awesome, very heavy Knocked Loose songs. Like, if you're a fan of Knocked Loose, there is absolutely nothing to upset you here. And that's a real treat for a band of this size going into a release that everybody's excited about, because there's 9 times out of 10 bands would they would just fumble it, and they'll do something that will piss people off as they're trying to get bigger and sort of reach more people. And there's like, you'll all be happy to know there is not a fucking whiff of that on this record.
No, not the slightest inkling of it. Like, you're talking about Sit and Mourn. One of the coolest things I think about Sit and Mourn is how you get Brian screaming over an almost clean like backdrop. When there's that kind of bit when it's like boom, boom, and there's that weird sort of like almost like clean stabby kind of riff coming on, and he's just laid absolutely fucking bare. And there's so many vocalists in the scene who would just crumble to fucking dust in those moments. And Brian Garris is just there, and he's like, fucking whatever. Like, that guy could do a cappella screaming and it would sound fucking sick, and we would all love it. And that's just basically what it comes down to. He's an absolute powerhouse. They're an absolute powerhouse band in every possible way. And everything that happens on this album is fucking incredible. We haven't even talked about Suffocate, which is probably the best song of the year. That song, I think, is fucking grade A, 110% banger. And like, Poppy isn't someone I've ever really listened to. I've never really got on board of the idea of Poppy as a concept. So maybe she's got brilliant music and I've just not come across it. But I assumed when I saw featuring Poppy, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is probably going to be like one of those sort of ethereal kind of spooky kind of vibe songs that you're going to get. No, she's like, no, I'm gonna just do a Brian Garris, and I'm gonna go absolutely ham on the screaming. And like, I don't know if you've seen, there's a video going around of them doing that song with her at Sick New World, and she sounds like she's gonna pop a blood vessel, man. She has absolutely zero training in how to scream properly, and she does not give a fuck. And I think that makes that performance sound so much better. And like, Knocked Loose featuring Poppy, like, Poppy could fucking join Knocked Loose and I'd be all right with it at this point. After that song, that song's so bloody brilliant. Like you were saying, the samba, boom, ba dum, ba bum, ba bum, ba, that breakdown is amazing. It's absolutely
Fantastic.
amazing. It really catches you off guard. But even like there's the bit when Poppy's doing her verse, and there's the kind of like 16-beat drum beat where, you know, when you're like, it's all like the Joy Division beat, and they kind of do this like Joy Division beat underneath her while she's doing her verse. Shouldn't make any sense. Shouldn't make a tiny bit of sense, but it sounds absolutely brilliant. Suffocate, that it's the best song of the year so far, mate. That's absolutely amazing.
I love it. I think I like Don't Reach For Me better, but you know, that's a good thing that we
Really
both love them
tunes,
so much.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I really, really am in love with this thing. We've been looking forward to it so much, and it just absolutely bangs. Like, can't wait to see what their next sort of tour looks like over here, like what sort of sizes they play. I think, you know, it was fantastic when we saw them at Bloodstock. Like, they were on a fantastic slot that time on the main stage, and this is only going to make them creep up further, right? Like, this is sick.
I think the next tour is supporting Slipknot, right? Main support to Slipknot for a tour around America, which
hell yeah,
that's where they belong. That I think that's like the perfect stepping stone for Knock Loose to become the band that, you know, they're going to become like this next generation's Hatebreed. You know, when that Hatebreed had I Will Be Heard, and it was in Triple X soundtrack, and suddenly Hatebreed were like one of the biggest bands around, despite the fact that they were like a hardcore band, and hardcore wasn't really like zeitgeist in the slightest. I'm talking like early 2000s. And then, like, yeah, that happened, Triple X. And then Hatebreed were basically like as big as a Slipknot or an Avenged Sevenfold or whatever was going on at the time. And I really reckon that Knock Loose going to go out, do this Knotfest tour with Slipknot, going to get underneath the noses of a lot of Slipknot fans. You think Slipknot have got a really, really broad appeal. I mean, they're very metal, but they're like the biggest, like hardest band that there is in existence potentially, until people see Knock Loose, and they're going to be like, holy shit, they make Slipknot sound like Kid Rock. Like, it's absolutely incredible. And it couldn't happen to a better band, man. And I love their I was reading on the press notes, the end out of the album's called You Won't Go Before You're Supposed To. It's quite a funny little story. Apparently, like, Brian Garris is terrified of flying, and he was on a plane, and he was sat next to a woman, and he was telling her about how he doesn't like flying, and he was really nervous. And she literally turned around and said to him, "You won't go before you're supposed to." And he was just like, "Whoa!" And he was so mind-blown.
She's like, "Lady, that's hard as fuck."
Yeah, and apparently he was just like, I didn't worry about the flight for the rest of the time because I was so like completely mind blown by this idea that this woman dropped in my lap. And he's like, all right, and from there, it's like basically everything just kind of span off from there. And I just think that's absolutely brilliant. Just some random normie woman on a plane sat next to Brian Garris, has no idea who he is, and just drops his nugget in his lap, and he's like, whoa. And that becomes the concept their entire next record. And she probably has no clue. She probably has absolutely no clue what happened. And she almost quite likely never will do. I think that was absolutely wicked. It really tickled me when I was reading the notes earlier.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, this is like album of the year material for sure.
Yeah.
This album is absolutely epic. I love that it's like stuck to the Knock Loose ethos of being just as appropriate in a 100 cap sweaty venue as it is in a field full of 50,000 people. Not the slightest bit of compromise at any point in any of what happens, but they've still managed to make it so that it can take them to that next level. Like, this should be the blueprint that basically every band ever follows.
Yeah. Truly fucking awesome. Just such a fucking treat. Something that we deserve as heavy music fans sometimes. You know, you deserve like one of the bands that you like to just not turn rubbish eventually. Like, yeah. You know?
I think we've all earned it. We've all earned that.
We've all learned this. We all made it through COVID, and now we've got a new Knock Loose record. That's what we got.
At least £50 each on Knock Loose merch. We've all been to 5 Knock Loose concerts at the minimum. Yeah, we've all put the work in, and I'm glad that they're paying us back. The investment has paid off. This is GameStop.
Hell yeah! Right. I don't think there's anywhere to go from there, Gary. I think that's it. I think I think it's a fantastic record. We've absolutely told everybody how much we love it. I think what else can we do other than stop recording this and go out and listen to it once more?
All we've got to do is tell people to like and subscribe. Woo!
like it and subscribe if you could. That'd be really nice. If you're watching the old YouTube, thank you. If you could maybe do a comment or something, that would be very nice. And also we've got a lovely Discord full of great people sharing music all the bloody time. It's a lovely place to come and hang out. Yeah, we will see you very soonly. I think we're going to do a couple of short ones over the next week. I'm going away, so we're going to get him out, and we've got to talk about Gatecreeper before I depart this island, Gary. We simply must.
You couldn't possibly have a good time on your trip away if you didn't get a chance to talk about Gatecreeper first. I'm sure
I'll be walking around Romania saying, everybody, just how have they done it? They've really they've really put all the death metals together and made one big beautiful death metal.
So this is a supermarket. I don't care. Just let me scan your
sorry,
and get
look,
out.
mate, are you going to go to Transylvania or not? Or whatever it is. Dracula's Castle. I don't know. Is that there? I don't know.
Yeah,
must be.
Probably.
Anyway,
So we'll
love
see you then, I
you.
guess.
Thank you very much. We'll see you soonly. Bye-bye.